The frozen airlock hisses open, revealing two alien forms huddled together, their once luminescent skin now dim and fading. Captain Keith Webb's breath catches in his throat as he realizes the gravity of the situation. These Hazari sisters are moments away from death, and only his body heat can save them. On the desolate moon of Thassa Prime, an ancient Hazari mining outpost stands silent, its metal skeleton encased in thick ice. Inside, Tina and Lyra, two Hazari sisters, cling to life as their ship's life support systems fail. The unforgiving cold seeps through the station's walls, threatening to claim them. With trembling fingers, Tina activates an emergency beacon, a desperate cry for help echoing across the frozen wasteland. The signal pierces the void, reaching the lone human survey vessel in the system. Captain Keith Webb, a seasoned terraforming specialist, picks up the distress call. Keith's jaw clenches as he weighs his options. His orders are clear. Avoid contact with the Hazari at all costs. Interstellar tensions between humans and the bioluminescent aliens are at an all-time high. But the thought of leaving the sisters to die gnaws at his conscience. Making his decision, Keith grips the controls of his ship, steering it through treacherous ice storms. The vessel groans under the strain as he navigates the perilous descent to the outpost. Landing with a bone-jarring thud, Keith suits up and steps out into the biting cold. The outpost's airlock, frozen shut by years of neglect, stands before him. Keith pulls out his plasma cutter, the blue flame casting eerie shadows as he works to breach the entrance. Sparks fly as metal gives way to his determination. Finally inside, Keith's helmet lights illuminate the grim scene. Tina and Lyra lie motionless, their bodies intertwined in a last attempt to preserve warmth. Their skin, usually pulsing with bioluminescent patterns, now flickers weakly. Keith's suit sensors confirm his fears. Severe hypothermia has set in. A quick survey of his equipment reveals a harsh truth. His ship lacks the necessary medical gear to treat the aliens. Moving them in this state could prove fatal. Keith's mind races, searching for a solution as precious seconds tick by. There's only one option left, and it's as risky as it is intimate. Keith begins to remove his thermal suit, exposing his skin to the frigid air. He knows that direct contact is their only hope for survival. As he prepares to embrace the alien sisters, doubts flood his mind. What if this violates some unknown Hazari taboo? Could prolonged physical contact with an alien species harm him? And what of the diplomatic fallout if word of this reaches either government? The fragile peace between humans and Hazari hangs in the balance. But as Keith looks at the fading life before him, he pushes aside his fears. With resolute determination, he moves towards the sisters, ready to share his vital warmth. In this moment, on a forgotten moon at the edge of space, humanity's compassion might just be the key to bridging the gap between two species. Keith takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what he's about to do. With careful movements, he positions himself between Tina and Lyra, their alien forms cool against his skin. He wraps his arms around them, pulling them close to share his body heat. As soon as they make contact, Keith notices a change. The sisters' dim skin begins to pulse faintly, a soft glow emanating from beneath the surface. The rhythm of the light seems to sync with his own heartbeat, creating an otherworldly connection between them. Hours pass as Keith holds the Hazari sisters close. Their skin, once icy and stiff, gradually softens and warms. A subtle, sweet scent fills the air, a secretion from the aliens' bodies that forms a thin layer between their skins. Keith realizes this must be an evolutionary adaptation to extreme cold, enhancing heat transfer and speeding up their recovery. Keith reaches for his portable medical scanner, careful not to disturb the delicate balance they've achieved. The device hums softly as it analyzes their vital signs. To his relief, the sisters' life functions are stabilizing. Their breathing becomes more regular, and their heart rates climb back towards normal levels. But the scanner picks up something else. Unusual hormonal fluctuations in all three of them. Keith furrows his brow, wondering about the implications of this prolonged physical contact. A soft gasp draws his attention. Tina's eyes flutter open, followed closely by Lyra's. Confusion clouds their faces for a moment before recognition sets in. Their gazes lock onto Keith, a mix of gratitude and something else, something primal and instinctive, reflected in their luminescent eyes. "You're safe now," Keith says softly, his voice hoarse from disuse. "I'm Captain Keith Webb. I picked up your distress signal." Tina and Lyra exchange a meaningful glance, seemingly communicating without words. When they look back at Keith, their expressions are filled with wonder and a hint of attraction. "Thank you, Captain," Tina whispers, her voice melodic and alien. "We owe you our lives." Keith tries to maintain his professional demeanor, but he finds himself captivated by their exotic beauty, the feeling of their silky skin against his, the pulsing glow that seems to call to something deep within him. It's all overwhelming. "We should get you to my ship," Keith says, attempting to focus on the task at hand. "You need proper medical care and nourishment." He helps the sisters sit up, supporting their weight as they struggle against a wave of dizziness. Tina and Lyra instinctively cling to him, their grip firm despite their weakened state. The renewed closeness sends a jolt through Keith, and he has to remind himself of the gravity of the situation. As they prepare to move, Keith's mind races with the challenges ahead. The ice storms outside haven't abated, and he'll need all his piloting skills to get them safely back to his ship. And then there's the matter of explaining this unauthorized rescue mission to his superiors. Keith helps Tina to her feet first, then Lyra. Their movements are unsteady, and he keeps a supportive arm around each of them as they make their way to the airlock. "The cold will hit us hard when we step outside," Keith warns them. "Stay close to me." He seals his thermal suit, making sure Tina and Lyra are as protected as possible, given the circumstances. With a deep breath, he activates the airlock cycle. The door hisses open, revealing the harsh, frozen landscape of Thassa Prime. Wind howls around them, driving ice crystals that sting any exposed skin. Keith feels the sisters press closer to him, seeking warmth and protection. Step by careful step, they make their way across the icy terrain towards Keith's ship. The going is slow and treacherous, each footfall a potential disaster on the slippery surface. Keith's muscles strain as he supports the weight of the Hazari sisters, their alien physiology making them heavier than he expected. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, they reach the ship. Keith quickly ushers Tina and Lyra inside, sealing the airlock behind them. As warm air floods the chamber, he feels the sisters relax against him. In the safety of his ship, Keith helps Tina and Lyra to the small medical bay. As he begins to set up the equipment to monitor their condition, he catches their eyes watching him intently. There's a depth of emotion in their gaze that takes him aback. Gratitude, yes, but also curiosity and a hint of something more. Keith swallows hard, suddenly very aware of the intimacy they've shared and the ongoing hormonal changes the scanner detected. He knows that what happened in that frozen outpost has changed things irrevocably, not just for them, but potentially for human Hazari relations as a whole. As he prepares for takeoff, Keith can't help but wonder what awaits them when they return to civilization. One thing is certain, the consequences of this rescue will reach far beyond this desolate moon, and Keith finds himself both excited and apprehensive about what the future holds. As Keith prepares for takeoff, the ship's engines roar to life, vibrating through the hull. Tina and Lyra, now more alert, watch him with fascination as his hands dance across the control panel. The vessel lifts off, leaving the desolate moon of Thassa Prime behind. Their relief is short-lived. Barely an hour into their journey, alarms blare throughout the cockpit. Keith's eyes widen as he spots the swirling mass of charged particles on his sensors. "Ion storm," he mutters, gripping the controls tighter. "Hold on tight." The ship plunges into the maelstrom of energy. Bolts of lightning crackle across the view screen, and the vessel bucks violently. Keith fights to maintain control, his eyes sharp in concentration. A particularly vicious surge slams into them, and sparks erupt from the navigation console. "We've lost nav systems," Keith shouts over the din. "I need to set us down somewhere, fast." Through the chaotic swirl of the storm, a planet looms ahead, Novus Eden. Its surface is a tapestry of lush greens and vibrant blues, a stark contrast to the frozen wasteland they just left. Keith aims for a clearing in the dense jungle canopy, his hands steady despite the ship's wild shaking. The descent is harrowing. Trees whip past the viewport as Keith weaves through the alien forest. At the last moment, he spots a small opening and angles the ship towards it. They hit the ground hard, skidding across the forest floor before coming to a stop in a tangle of vines and fallen logs. For a moment, silence reigns. Then Keith releases a shaky breath, turning to check on his passengers. "Everyone okay?" Tina and Lyra nod, their luminescent skin pulsing with what Keith interprets as relief and excitement. He runs a quick systems check, his heart sinking as he sees the extent of the damage. "Long-range comms are fried," he announces. "We're stuck here until I can make repairs." Keith leads the Hazari sisters out of the ship, and they step into a world of wonder. The jungle of Novus Eden teems with life, every plant and tree glowing with its own inner light. Bioluminescent creatures flit between the branches, casting dancing shadows in the perpetual twilight beneath the canopy. "We need to set up camp," Keith says, retrieving supplies from the ship. "It could be a while before we can leave." To his surprise, Tina and Lyra eagerly pitch in to help. Their movements are graceful and efficient, a far cry from their weakened state on Thassa Prime. Keith finds himself watching them more often than he should, captivated by the way their skin shifts and shimmers in response to their surroundings. As night falls, the temperature plummets. Keith shivers, reminded of the frozen outpost where he found the sisters. "We should huddle together for warmth," he suggests, trying to keep his voice neutral. Tina and Lyra exchange a look, and then nod in agreement. They settle into the makeshift shelter, pressing close to Keith. The sweet scent he noticed before envelops him, stronger now. He feels a pleasant warmth spreading through his body, his skin tingling where it touches theirs. In the soft glow of their bioluminescence, Keith becomes acutely aware of every point of contact between them. A jolt runs through him as he realizes he can feel their emotions, contentment, curiosity, and a growing attraction. The sensation is overwhelming, unlike anything he's ever experienced. Morning brings new challenges and discoveries. As they search the jungle for materials to repair the ship, Keith notices Tina and Lyra becoming more animated. They chirp and trill to each other in their native language, their skin flashing in complex patterns. Their exploration leads them to a clearing where ancient stone structures rise from the forest floor. Keith's breath catches as he sees the intricate symbols carved into the weathered surface, symbols that bear an uncanny resemblance to the markings on Tina and Lyra's skin. "This is incredible," he murmurs, running his hand over the cool stone. "Do you recognize any of this?" Before the sisters can respond, the ground shifts beneath their feet. Keith has a moment of panic as he realizes what's happening, but it's too late. The forest floor gives way, and they're sliding down a smooth, twisting tunnel into the Earth's depths. They tumble into a vast underground chamber, lit by the same bioluminescent technology that permeates the jungle above. Keith's eyes widen as he takes in the advanced machinery surrounding them, far beyond anything in human or Hazari technology. At the chamber's center stands a massive crystal, pulsing with energy. Tina and Lyra approach it, their skin resonating with its rhythm. As they draw closer, the chamber comes to life. Holographic displays flicker into existence, filling the air with swirling data and images. Keith watches in awe as the sisters interact with the technology, their movements perfectly synchronized. They seem to be in a trance, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The energy in the room builds, the crystals pulsing, growing more intense. Suddenly, a surge of power erupts from the crystal, enveloping all three of them. Keith gasps as electricity courses through his body. In a flash, his mind connects with Tina and Lyra's. Images flood his consciousness. Glimpses of ancient star maps, fractured memories of a civilization long past, and a sense of profound connection between their species. As the energy fades, Keith finds himself changed. He can feel Tina and Lyra's presence in his mind, a constant, comforting awareness. They turn to him, their eyes filled with wonder and newfound understanding. In this hidden chamber, surrounded by the legacy of an ancient civilization, Keith realizes that their adventure is just getting started. The power they've uncovered and the bond they now share could reshape the future of their peoples. As the crystal's light pulses around them, Keith knows that the choices they make here will echo across the stars. Galaxies. As the surge of energy from the crystal fades, Keith finds himself gasping for air, his mind blown from the influx of information and sensations. The connection doesn't disappear entirely, however. Instead, it settles into a constant, comforting presence at the back of his mind. He can feel Tina and Lyra's consciousness, their thoughts and emotions intertwining with his own in a way that both thrills and unnerves him. Wow, what just happened? Keith manages to ask, his voice hoarse. Tina and Lyra turn to him, their luminescent skin pulsing with an intensity he's never seen before. Their eyes, once merely captivating, now seem to hold entire universes within their depths. "We are one," Lyra whispers, her voice echoing in Keith's mind as much as in his ears. "The Ancient Ones have gifted us with their knowledge and their power." A tremor runs through the chamber, causing dust and small debris to rain down from the ceiling. The crystal's pulsing becomes erratic, its glow fluctuating wildly. "We need to leave," Keith says urgently, his newfound connection to the sisters allowing him to sense their agreement before they even nod. They make their way to the tunnel entrance, their movements now perfectly synchronized. As they begin their ascent, Keith realizes that he can anticipate every twist and turn of the passage, the knowledge somehow imparted to him through their shared link. The climb is treacherous, the smooth walls offering little purchase. Yet Keith finds his fingers and toes finding impossible holds, his body moving with a grace and strength he's never possessed before. Tina and Lyra move with equal ease, their lithe forms gliding upwards as if gravity has no hold on them. As they near the surface, Keith becomes aware of a change in the air. A sweet, intoxicating scent fills his nostrils, making his head swim and his pulse quicken. He glances at Tina and Lyra, seeing his own growing desire reflected in their eyes. They emerge into a transformed landscape. Night has fallen on Novus Eden, and the jungle around them has come alive with bioluminescence. Every leaf, every flower pulses with an inner light that seems to resonate with their own energy signatures. Keith takes a deep breath, the air thick with an aromatic mist that seems to set every nerve ending alight. He can feel Tina and Lyra's reactions through their link, their own sensations amplifying his. "We should find shelter," Tina suggests, her voice husky. Keith nods, unable to trust his own voice. They make their way through the glowing underbrush, drawn to a grove of towering trees with iridescent bark. As they step into the clearing, the ground beneath their feet seems to soften and mold itself to their presence. Moss-covered earth forms a natural bed, inviting them to rest. Keith sinks down onto the soft surface, Tina and Lyra joining him on either side. The simple touch of their skin against his sends a jolt of electricity through his body. Through their link, he can feel their own desire building, mirroring, and amplifying his own. "I've never felt anything like this," Keith murmurs, his hands reaching out to caress their luminescent skin. Words become unnecessary as they explore each other, their touches sending waves of pleasure and understanding through their shared connection. Their bioluminescent skin begins to glow brighter, creating patterns of light that dance across their bodies. As their passion intensifies, Keith becomes aware of movement in the surrounding jungle. Curious creatures, drawn by their display, gather at the edges of the clearing. Far from feeling exposed, Keith senses only a comforting presence, as if the wildlife is standing guard over their intimate moment. Their encounter reaches a crescendo, their shared pleasure echoing through their mental link. As they climax together, Keith feels something shift within him, his senses sharpen, his body feeling stronger and more alive than ever before. As dawn breaks, they disentangle themselves, each feeling profoundly changed by the experience. Keith takes a deep breath, realizing he can now process the alien atmosphere with ease. He feels stronger, faster, more attuned to the world around him. Before they can fully process these changes, a low rumble fills the air. Keith looks up to see a sleek silver ship breaking through the atmosphere. Its hull bears the unmistakable insignia of the Hazari military. "They're looking for us," Lyra says, her voice tinged with worry. Keith nods, his mind racing. We need to get back to my ship, now. They quickly gather their belongings and make their way back to Keith's damaged vessel. As they approach, Keith stops short, his eyes widening in disbelief. The ship, which had been a battered wreck just hours before, now hums with energy. Its hull gleams with an otherworldly sheen, and unfamiliar symbols pulse along its surface. The chamber's technology, Tina breathes. It's interfacing with your ship. As they watch, the last of the damage seems to repair itself, leaving the vessel not just whole, but transformed. Keith can sense its systems through their link, recognizing capabilities far beyond its original design. We have a choice to make, Keith says, looking at Tina and Lyra. We can try to contact the Hazari ship, or we can use this technology to change everything. Lyra finishes his thought. The Hazari ship draws closer, its search pattern bringing it inexorably towards their position. With time running out, Keith, Tina, and Lyra exchange a look of understanding. Whatever they decide, there's no going back. The future of their peoples, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hangs in the balance. Balance hangs in the balance. Time seems to stretch as they consider their options, the weight of their decision pressing down on them. Suddenly, a low hum fills the air. Keith turns to see his ship, no longer a battered wreck, pulsing with newfound energy. The hull gleams with an otherworldly sheen, unfamiliar symbols dancing across its surface. The chamber's technology, Tina breathes, her eyes wide. It's interfacing with your ship. As they watch, the last traces of damage vanish, leaving the vessel not just repaired, but transformed. Through their shared link, Keith senses capabilities far beyond its original design. We have more options than we thought, he says, a plan forming in his mind. They sprint towards the ship, now humming with power. As they approach, a new system flickers to life, a cloaking device that renders the vessel invisible to conventional scanners. This changes everything, Lyra says, her skin pulsing with excitement. Without hesitation, they board the ship. Keith slides into the pilot's seat, his hands moving instinctively over the new controls. Tina and Lyra take up positions beside him, their movements perfectly synchronized. I'm christening her Nexus, Keith announces as the ship lifts off, the name feeling right for their newfound connection. They soar into Novus Eden's upper atmosphere, the cloaking technology proving its worth as they slip past the Hazari scout ship undetected. Keith allows himself a moment of relief, but it's short-lived. As they prepare to break orbit, a massive energy surge erupts from the underground complex. The Nexus shudders, its systems momentarily disrupted. What's happening? Keith calls out, fighting to maintain control. Before Tina or Lyra can respond, a holographic interface materializes in the cockpit. A star map flickers into existence, a highlighted route leading to an unknown destination. It's guiding us somewhere, Lyra says, her voice filled with awe. As they study the map, Keith feels their psychic link intensify. The knowledge and purpose of the ancient civilization seem to flow through them, urging them towards this mysterious location. We have to follow it, Tina says, voicing the thought they all share. With a nod, Keith sets their course. As they leave Novus Eden behind, he notices changes in the ship's environmental systems. The atmosphere shifts, becoming perfectly balanced for both human and Hazari physiology. The effects are immediate. Keith feels his body growing stronger, his senses sharpening. Through their link, he senses similar changes in Tina and Lyra. Their connection deepens, emotions and sensations flowing freely between them. Their journey takes them through uncharted regions of space. They navigate a treacherous asteroid field. Keith's enhanced reflexes working in perfect harmony with the Nexus's upgraded systems. Each near miss only serves to strengthen their bond and trust in one another. Days into their voyage, a distress signal pierces the silence of space. Despite the risk of detection, they unanimously decide to investigate. They find a crashed Hazari merchant vessel on a desolate planet. Among the wreckage, they discover a lone survivor, a male Hazari named Zorn. Zorn recoils at the sight of Keith, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. A human? He spits, his voice weak but filled with venom. It's okay, Tina says soothingly, helping Zorn to his feet. He's with us. As they tend to Zorn's injuries aboard the Nexus, Keith feels the weight of the Hazari's suspicious gaze. Yet as hours turn to days, Zorn's hostility gives way to curiosity. He watches the trio's seamless interactions, their unspoken communication, with growing fascination. "I've never seen anything like this," Zorn admits one day, his voice tinged with wonder. A human and Hazari working together as one. Their journey continues, the star map guiding them ever onward. As they approach their destination, the Nexus's sensors detect a massive energy signature. It's similar to the complex on Novus Eden, Lyra observes, but much, much larger. Anticipation builds as they near the coordinates. Suddenly, the ship's systems light up, detecting a hidden spatial anomaly. With their enhanced capabilities, they navigate through the distortion, emerging into a concealed star system. At its heart floats a massive space station, its design unmistakably linked to the Novus Eden complex. As they approach, Keith feels a strong pull, his enhanced biology resonating with the ancient technology. The Nexus's systems begin interfacing with the station's defense grid. Lights flicker to life across the station's surface, as if awakening from a long slumber. "This is it," Keith says, his voice barely above a whisper. "Whatever we find in there could change everything." As they prepare to dock, Zorn steps forward. "I'm coming with you," he declares, his earlier suspicion rep-tinged with dedication. "Whatever this is, it concerns all of us, human and Hazari alike." The docking procedure completes with a soft thud. Keith, Tina, Lyra, and Zorn stand before the airlock, the weight of history and the unknown pressing down upon them. As the doors begin to open, they step forward together, ready to uncover the secrets that await them within the ancient station. Station. As the airlock hissed open, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away. The interior of the ancient space station stretched out before them, a vast expanse of lush alien vegetation and crystal-clear waterways. The group stepped forward, their enhanced senses immediately processing the new environment. Keith inhaled deeply, surprised to find the air not only breathable, but invigorating. "It's like a whole ecosystem," Tina marveled, her eyes wide as she took in the vibrant flora around them. Zorn reached out, gently touching a nearby leaf. "The plant life here, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, yet somehow familiar." As they ventured deeper into the station, the artificial gravity and life support systems hummed to life, responding to their presence. The group moved with newfound grace and strength, their enhanced physiology allowing them to navigate the alien terrain with ease. "Look," Lyra called out, pointing ahead. "I think I see some kind of control center." They made their way towards a central chamber, its walls lined with advanced holographic interfaces. As Keith and Zorn approached the main console, their hands hovering over the controls, the system suddenly sprang to life. A massive holographic projection materialized in the center of the room, causing them all to step back in awe. The projection coalesced into the figure of a being unlike any they had ever seen. Its form was humanoid, yet clearly alien, with an aura of ancient wisdom about it. When it spoke, its voice resonated not just in their ears, but in their minds as well. "Greetings, children of the stars. We are the progenitors, and you have awakened our legacy." The being went on to explain the true nature of their shared heritage. Humans and Hazari, along with countless other species across the galaxy, were all descendants of the progenitors. This station was a failsafe, designed to activate only when their offspring had reached a level of advancement that would allow them to comprehend and utilize the knowledge contained within. As the message played out, Keith felt a strange sensation coursing through his body. He glanced at his companions and saw they were experiencing the same thing. Their skin glowed faintly and waves of pleasure and heightened awareness washed over them. "The station," Tina gasped, her voice a mix of discomfort and ecstasy. "It's changing us." The progenitor hologram continued its explanation, seemingly unaware of their physical transformations. It spoke of vast archives of knowledge and technology, all meant to guide their descendants towards a unified, peaceful future. As the recalibration process intensified, Keith found his gaze drawn to Zorn. The Hazari's eyes met his, and in that moment, all the tension and suspicion between them melted away. Keith felt a surge of understanding and attraction that transcended species. Similarly, Tina and Lyra moved closer to Keith, their connection deepening beyond the physical. It was as if their minds were merging, forming a collective consciousness that pulsed with shared emotions and thoughts. The genetic recalibration complete, they found themselves able to interface directly with the station's systems through mere touch. Keith placed his hand on a nearby console, and information flooded his mind. He saw visions of other progenitor outposts scattered throughout the galaxy, each holding unique pieces of their ancestors' legacy. As they delved deeper into the station's databanks, a sense of unease began to grow. They uncovered information about an ancient threat, a hostile force known as the Void Harbingers. This menace had led to the progenitor's disappearance and remained a dormant but ever-present danger. "If we reactivate the entire network," Lyra said, her voice tight with concern, "we risk alerting the Void Harbingers to our presence." Before they could fully process this new information, an alarm blared through the station. A holographic display showed a fleet of ships approaching, a joint human-Hazari task force. "They must have detected the station's energy signature," Zorn said, his newfound connection to the others allowing him to sense their shared anxiety. The task force hailed them, demanding their immediate surrender. The voice of the human commander crackled through the communication system. "This is Admiral Reeves of the UES Dauntless. You are charged with unauthorized actions and desertion. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." Keith exchanged glances with his companions. They all understood the gravity of their situation. How could they convey the importance of their discovery without revealing too much? How could they bridge the gap between their species and protect the galaxy from a potentially catastrophic threat? As they stood united, their bodies still humming with the energy of their genetic recalibration, Keith felt a surge of commitment. He placed his hand on the communication panel, ready to respond to the task force. "This is Keith Anders," he began, his voice steady. "We have made a discovery that changes everything. Request permission to come aboard and explain. The fate of both our species and possibly the entire galaxy hangs in the balance." The silence that followed felt eternal. Keith and his companions waited, their enhanced senses on high alert, ready to face whatever came next. They knew that their actions in the coming moments could reshape the future of all life in the galaxy. As they prepared to meet the task force, they silently vowed to protect each other and the legacy they'd uncovered, whatever it takes. The silence stretched on, each second feeling like an eternity. Keith's hand remained steady on the communication panel, his enhanced senses attuned to the slightest change in the atmosphere. Suddenly, a crackle of static broke through, followed by Admiral Reeves' voice. "Permission granted, Anders. Prepare for boarding." Keith exhaled slowly, exchanging glances with his companions. They nodded in silent agreement, their shared connection allowing them to formulate a plan without uttering a word. As the airlock hissed open, revealing a contingent of heavily armed human and Hazari soldiers, Keith stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Admiral Reeves, thank you for hearing us out. What we've discovered here, it changes everything." The Admiral's eyes narrowed, taking in the strange, glowing appearance of Keith and his companions. "Explain, quickly." Keith nodded, turning to the station's central console. With a mere thought, he interfaced with the system, causing a holographic display to materialize in the air between them. The soldiers instinctively raised their weapons, but Reeves held up a hand, signaling them to stand down. The hologram showed a dazzling array of advanced technology, medical devices capable of curing previously incurable diseases, energy generators that could power entire planets with minimal resources, and schematics for faster-than-light travel that would revolutionize space exploration. "This station," Keith explained, his voice steady, "is a repository of knowledge left behind by an ancient civilization, technology that could end resource conflicts, cure diseases, and usher in an era of unparalleled prosperity for both humans and Hazari." A Hazari commander, his scales a deep blue, stepped forward. "And why should we believe you? This could be an elaborate trick." Lyra moved to stand beside Keith, her eyes meeting the commander's. Because, Commander... Krell, the Hazari supplied, his voice gruff. Commander Krell, Lyra continued, this technology proves that humans and Hazari share a common ancestry. We are all descendants of the same ancient race. A murmur ran through the assembled soldiers. Admiral Reeves raised an eyebrow, skepticism evident in his voice. That's a bold claim. Do you have proof? Before Keith could respond, the station's alarms blared to life. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive energy signature approaching the system. What is that? Reeves demanded, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Keith's eyes widened as he processed the information flooding his enhanced mind. It's a threat, one the ancient records warn about. We need to prepare for... His words were cut short as the station shuddered violently. The defensive systems activated automatically, enveloping the structure in a shimmering energy shield. We're under attack, Krell shouted, turning to his soldiers. Battle stations! As chaos erupted around them, Keith locked eyes with Tina, Lyra, and Zorn. In that moment, their connection deepened, their minds merging into a collective consciousness. They could sense the approaching danger, feel the ancient technology of the station responding to their presence. Keith turned to Admiral Reeves and Commander Krell, his voice urgent. We need to work together. Your ships, combined with this station's defenses, might be our only chance. Reeves hesitated for a split second before nodding sharply. Agreed. But this isn't over, Anders. Once we deal with this threat, you have a lot of explaining to do. As Reeves and Krell coordinated their forces, Keith and his companions moved deeper into the station's control center. Their hands danced over the alien interfaces, their enhanced abilities allowing them to access systems that had lain dormant for millennia. A massive weapon emerged from the station's core, its design unlike anything the human or Hazari forces had ever seen. Energy crackled along its length, drawn from the very life force of Keith, Tina, Lyra, and Zorn. Through the station's sensors, they watched as a colossal ship, dark and ominous, appeared at the edge of the system. Its design was alien and unsettling, radiating an aura of ancient malevolence. Void harbingers, Zorn whispered, the name plucked from the depths of the station's databanks. The enemy ship fired, lances of dark energy streaking toward the station. The shields held, but barely. In response, the station's weapon powered up, drawing more energy from the four enhanced individuals. Keith gritted his teeth, feeling the strain on his body. We need to fire now! With a thought, they activated the weapon. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a newborn star, lashed out across space. It struck the Void Harbinger ship with devastating effect, tearing through its advanced hull. But the victory was short-lived. The enemy vessel, though severely damaged, launched a counterattack. Energy beams impacted the station's shields, causing them to flicker and wane. As alarms blared and systems overloaded, Keith and his companions felt another change overtaking them. Their skin began to glow with an intensity that rivaled the station's bioluminescent flora. Their minds expanded, connecting not just with each other, but with the very fabric of space-time around them. Through this expanded awareness, they discovered a hidden progenitor protocol deep within the station's systems. It offered a way to defeat the Void Harbingers once and for all, but at a terrible cost. The protocol required the willing sacrifice of 4 genetically compatible individuals to activate a weapon capable of banishing the Void Harbingers to a pocket dimension. As the realization sank in, Keith looked at his companions, their faces illuminated by the glow of their transformed bodies. The station shuddered again as another blast from the Void Harbinger ship struck home. Warnings flashed across the holographic displays. The shields were failing. In the midst of the chaos, Keith, Tina, Lyra, and Zorn stood motionless, their minds linked, facing the most difficult decision of their lives. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and only they had the power to tip the scales. As alarms blared and the battle raged outside, they communicated silently, weighing the enormity of their choice. The love and connection they shared made the prospect of separation unbearable. Yet the alternative was unthinkable. With the station's shields on the verge of collapse and time running out, They knew a decision had to be made. The fate of not just their own species, but all life in the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Keith took a deep breath, his glowing form pulsing with energy. He looked at his companions, seeing the same mix of fear, dedication, and love reflected in their eyes. Whatever they decided, they would face it together. Together. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, but a shared grit burned in their eyes. "We have to do this," Keith said, his voice barely above a whisper. "For everyone." Tina, Lyra, and Zorn nodded in agreement, their bodies pulsing with the same ethereal energy that coursed through Keith's veins. Without another word, they moved towards the station's core, their steps in perfect synchronization. As they approached the pulsating heart of the ancient structure, Keith's mind raced. The progenitor protocol demanded a sacrifice, but perhaps there was another way. "Wait," he said, holding up a hand. His companions paused, their eyes questioning. "I have an idea." Keith closed his eyes, reaching out with his enhanced senses to interface with the station's systems. Information flooded his mind, overwhelming at first, but quickly coalescing into a clear picture. He saw the protocol, its intricate web of energy pathways and failsafes, and there, hidden within the complex matrix, he found a possibility. "We can modify the protocol," Keith explained, his eyes snapping open. "Channel our life force into the weapon without dying." Lyra's eyes widened. "Is that possible?" "It's risky," Zorn added, his scales rippling with tension. "But if it means we can stay together." Tina stepped forward, taking Keith's hand. "We trust you, Keith. Let's do it." With newfound dedication, they positioned themselves around the station's core. The air crackled with energy, their skin glowing brighter with each passing second. Keith reached out, both physically and mentally, connecting with the ancient systems. His companions followed suit, their enhanced abilities allowing them to interface seamlessly with the technology. As Keith initiated the modified protocol, streams of iridescent energy began to flow from their bodies into the station's core. The sensation was unlike anything they had ever experienced. Waves of intense pleasure intermingled with searing pain. Their life forces intertwined with the ancient technology, becoming one with the station itself. The process was grueling. Keith gritted his teeth, fighting to maintain control as the energy poured out of him. Beside him, Tina gasped, her body arching as another wave of energy left her. Lyra and Zorn held each other's gaze, drawing strength from their connection. Around them, the station began to change. Walls shifted and reconfigured, revealing hidden chambers and dormant weapon systems. The entire structure seemed to come alive, pulsing with the combined life force of Keith and his companions. Outside, the human Hazari task force watched in awe as the station transformed. What was once a mysterious relic now metamorphosed into a massive, organic-looking superweapon. Its surface rippled like living tissue, glowing with the same energy that emanated from Keith, Tina, Lyra, and Zorn. As the transformation neared its peak, Keith felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever known. He opened his eyes, seeing the same realization mirrored in his companions' faces. They were ready. With a final Herculean effort, they channeled every ounce of energy they could muster into the station's systems. The core pulsed once, twice, and then erupted with blinding light. A colossal beam of iridescent energy burst forth from the station, streaking across space towards the Void Harbinger ship. The enemy vessel, caught off guard by the sudden attack, had no time to react. The beam engulfed it entirely, its dark hull warping and distorting under the onslaught of progenitor energy. For a moment, the Void Harbinger ship seemed to stretch impossibly, its form elongating like a rubber band pulled to its limit. Then, with a silent flash that lit up the entire system, it vanished, swallowed by the pocket dimension created by the modified progenitor protocol. As the light faded and the energy beam dissipated, Keith, Tina, Lyra, and Zorn collapsed to the floor. Their bodies, still intertwined with pulsing energy, felt utterly drained, but they were alive. Suddenly, the station systems engaged automatically. Streams of golden light enveloped the four, their warmth seeping into every cell. Keith felt his strength returning, his body stabilizing even as it retained its enhanced state. Beside him, his companions stirred, their eyes fluttering open. As they helped each other to their feet, Keith realized something had changed. The connection between them, already strong before, had deepened beyond anything he could have imagined. He could feel Tina's relief, sense Lyra's amazement, share in Zorn's wonder, all without a word being spoken. Their minds and bodies were in perfect harmony, not just with each other, but with the station itself. Keith raised a hand, and a nearby console sprang to life, responding to his mere thought. Before they could fully process their new abilities, the sound of approaching footsteps caught their attention. Admiral Reeves and Commander Krell entered the chamber, their expressions a mix of awe and cautious respect. "What you've done here," Reeves began, his voice trailing off as he took in the transformed station and the glowing forms of Keith and his companions. Krell stepped forward, his scales shimmering in the golden light. "You've saved us all, and proven that humans and Hazari are stronger together than apart." Keith smiled, feeling the warmth of his companions' agreement through their shared bond. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice resonating with newfound strength and purpose. "We have so much to learn, so much to discover." As Reeves and Krell exchanged glances, Keith knew that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges and wonders beyond imagination. But with Tina, Lyra, and Zorn by his side, connected in ways that defied conventional understanding, he felt ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them. The station hummed around them, alive with possibilities. And as the first tentative steps towards a new era of human-Hazari cooperation began, Keith and his companions stood at the heart of it all, their shared warmth a beacon of hope for the future.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.